Hello, Don here, and welcome to, what? I already forgot the name. Iwaihime. And this is made from the same creator as Higurashi. And I'm really excited to play this game. Apparently, it's only like 6 hours long. 6 hours, 7 hours, something like that. In case I get a message. And here I'd figured he'd be the one embarrassed to show up late.
かっこつきすぎたかな。私ってばかっこ悪い。
And yeah, I'm not gonna voice. I'm only gonna do like narration, since there's voice acting. I let my enthusiasm get the better of me, and arrived too early. I would have felt guilty otherwise, making him wait at some station he'd never visited after the long trip here.
すずむ、背はどのくらいあるのかな。写メじゃよくわかんないよね。
Suzumu was my distant relative. Like me, he was 16 and a junior in high school. Oh, okay. Starting this spring, he would be living here in Susuda, going to the same school as me. He said he'd know where my parent place was, but normally you pick people up at the station, right? Still, that was no excuse for my premature arrival.
すずむ、
Oh,
少
so,
し早く着いたりしないかな。
so is this my character, I'd assume? Sorry, I'm so used to looking over here at the camera. The camera's right here. He seemed like the punctual type, so I figured he'd be more likely to get here 5 minutes ahead of time. There was no way he'd show up an hour early. Yet I had to go and get the brilliant idea to show up over an hour ahead of schedule anyway. I wasn't trying to get that carried away, but honestly, it just kind of happened. Killing time at a chic coffee shop would be ideal for this sort of situation. But, well, I didn't want to waste over 300 yen of my meager allowance on a single cup of coffee. At least she's smart about coffee. So there I was, leaning against a pillar in front of the ticket gate, looking like a fool as I stared off into space. At first I was worried about my hair looking funny, like I was waiting for my first date or something. But those silly feelings passed after a while. Eventually I found myself simply staring blankly at the bustling crowds of people, my mind as blank and staticky as a TV tuned to a dead channel. No matter how much I checked my phone, it wouldn't change the fact that I still had another 50 or so minutes to go. It'd be nice if I could find a game or something to pass the time. But since I was still recharging MP in Wanyadora, I couldn't play it for another 12 hours.
駅ってさ、何気に超メジャーでポピュラーな自殺スポットだと思うんだよね。
Excuse me? Suicides? All of a sudden, my channel locked onto a single voice speaking amidst the crowds. The voice appeared to be that of a young office worker all by herself, perhaps talking on the phone.
どんな自殺の名所もさ、結構行くの大変じゃん？覚悟とか度胸とか、というか行くのに時間かかるっていうか。だって思わない？富士の樹海とかで死ぬ人ってどんだけ頑張ってるわけ？樹海までの行き方調べて、電車乗って、乗り換えて、歩いて。普通死ぬためだけにそこまでやるかね？家で首つった方がどんだけ楽かって思うでしょ？
Okay. She was discussing a rather morbid topic with the same energy one would the latest fashions and trends. That said, I had to admit it was fascinating.
首吊るのだってそうそう簡単じゃないって。首を吊るロープかその代わりのものなんてそうそう家にはないよ。
Now that you mentioned, I couldn't think of anything in my place that could support my weight. Going to the store to get a rope or something just to end yourself seemed like a real fast way to kill the mood. Yeah, even just hanging yourself took effort.
自殺ってさ、初恋の男の子に今だって告白するような勢いとタイミングでするもんでしょ？
Okay, ooh, this is gonna be an interesting game. That was quite the simile. It was in no way a funny topic, yet I almost giggled. The days of seppuku were long in the past, so most suicides these days were done on impulse. With that, I saw what she was getting at about train stations being suicide hotspots.
駅ってさ、学生でも社会人でも誰もが日常に利用している場所なわけだよね。それでホームで電車を待っている時間ってどんなに忙しい人でも自分を顧みるいい時間になるわけじゃん。
And so in those few minutes waiting for the train, it could cross your mind how easy it would be to just end it all. Train platforms were truly a wonder in that sense. If the thought of killing yourself passed through your head, you wouldn't even need to prepare anything special. All it would take is a few steps toward the edge of the platform. Oh god. It's really starting off like this. Sure, you'd have to wait for a train first, but those arrived every few minutes during the busy hours. A desire to die and a few minutes of spacing out, that was all you needed. And it was all just a hop, skip, and a jump away.
ね？最高の自殺スポットだと思わない？コンビニやカラオケくらいに身近でお手軽なカジュアルな自殺スポットだと思うわけ。疲れたらコンビニで栄養剤買ったり、カラオケでストレス発散したりとかするでしょ？駅もそれと同じじゃないかなって。
So, in other words, when you're tired of life, it should be okay to treat the idea of killing yourself almost casually? That's what she was saying. Suicide was supposed to be really tragic and serious, right? Yet this woman was talking about how death shouldn't be considered that big of a deal. Like cutting your hair short for a change of pace, or splurging on a fantastic overseas vacation. In other words, resetting your life should be treated just as lightly as all of that. I don't know if it was because I was sleepy or what, but her words felt like they were awakening something awfully new and fascinating inside me.
そうだよね。
Hmm.
自殺って何もとことん追い詰められるまで考えちゃいけないものではないのかも。
I mean, sort of, yeah. Like how you might just change up your hair after a breakup, or how you might treat yourself to a makeover or a new purse on a whim. Maybe it really should be treated as casually as that. No, it shouldn't. It shouldn't. It should not be treated that casually.
自殺って言葉が私は物騒だと思うんだよね。
確かに。
エステで新陳代謝を改善して新しいお肌に生まれ変わらせるのと全く同じ感じ。だから自分殺しなんて物騒な言葉じゃなくて、人生のリピュアとかってどうかな。ね、なんか素敵な響きになったと思わない？
人生のリピュア。
Yeah, that did have a real nice ring to it. No, it doesn't. It was only then that I realized the woman had been talking to me. She was leaning against the other side of the pillar. I turned around and locked eyes with her. She was an older woman in her 20s or so, with stunning long hair and a somewhat compassionate aura around her.
してみると結構驚いちゃうよ。ああ、こんなに簡単だったんだって。なんで今まで無駄に怖がってたんだろう。バカみたい。
したこと あるんですか？リピュア。
Wait, what? Strangers, as if I had simply asked for the time. Wait, hold on a second. I felt as though my entire world had been turned upside down. Excuse me? I grew as dizzy as if heaven and earth had been inverted, and the sound of the crowds around me grew deafening, as if someone had turned up the volume on them. Oh, don't do it. Don't do that. All of a sudden, I found myself at the very front of a crowded platform. Oh, don't do that. Beyond where the waiting line would usually start. Wasn't even a full step away from going over the edge. But there was a sea of people behind me. It was as packed as a can of sardines, trying to force them back to no good. And if I tried to push my way through them, they pushed back just as hard.
見てみて。下を。
I heard the woman close by, but I couldn't see her. I didn't plan on listening to her, but a push from behind instinctively drew my eyes to my feet. I was stunned by what I found. Where there should have been gravel and train tracks was instead a vast blue sky spreading out as far as the eye could see. What? Beautiful fields of clouds adorned that light blue sea. It was like I was looking down from a floating island. No, wait. Those clouds seemed familiar. They were just like those towering... Okay, kind of... cumulonimbus clouds I had seen one summer when I was a kid, lying on a field in a nature park. That's right, there wasn't a sky below me. The sky I looked up at on that day was under my eyes. And just as soon as I realized that, I felt as though gravity had been turned on its head. My chest grew light with the desire to be sucked into that blue ocean. Like the feeling you get when you're finally reached the top of a tall slide after waiting in a long line.
おいでよ。
Don't go with her.
すっごい簡単であっさりだよ。怖くなんかないから。
Yeah, don't go with her.
な
Please
んで
don't.
そっちにこだわってたのか、バカみたいになるよ。
The one appeared before me, holding her hand out to me. I had no idea how she got there without me noticing. Almost like she walked up to me as I lay gazing at the sky on that field, inviting me to go with her. And it wasn't just her. There were other women there, her friends or coworkers, maybe along with men in suits. Though it felt like they were inviting me to a barbecue or something. They looked so out of place in the suits that it felt kind of silly to me. Jumping off the platform, right? But there was an announcement signaling the arrival of the next train. And yet, everyone was coaxing me over to them, their faces plastered with blissful smiles. Almost like they were telling me I'd miss the train if I didn't hurry. But couldn't they hear that screeching of metal against the tracks? The train was coming. I couldn't jump. If I did, I'd...
ほら、早く。
Oh, don't listen to her, don't listen.
怖くないから。痛くもないんだよ。
Oh, don't listen to her. Hurry, you're going to miss it. Everyone said that as they reached out and waved to me. Like telling me I'd miss out on all the fun if I didn't come along. Oh my god. But they were asking the impossible because hadn't they all been crushed to pieces? Their hands, feet, and heads were all crushed to pieces, weren't they? There was no blue sky, just a blanket of scattered stone, dyed reddish-brown by the elements and rust. Faded metal rails like prison bars reaching out into the distance. It was from there that the dead moaned, pushing through the tracks, ballast as they desperately reached out to me. Their own buried hell beneath the stones, its residents doomed to be crushed under the weight of each passing train, unnoticed by the living day after day. The mutilated dead moaned their agony as they desperately sought new companions. Oh, okay. Okay. One of them had become nothing more than a partially crushed head. Another's outstretched hand had fallen right off their arm. An indecipherable jumble of hands and feet squeezed through the stones as they beckoned me over. Chills ran through me from head to toe. I wanted to back away, but the sea of people behind were pushing back just as hard against me. No, even harder. Stop, I'm gonna fall. However, they were clearly winning. Their toes had already stretched out past the platform and were trembling in midair. I stretched my arms as far as they could go, grabbed onto someone behind me, and held on for dear life. But the encroaching wall of flesh kept pushing. By this point, my heels were already halfway over the platform. The eyes of the mechanical carnivore gleamed as it grew closer. The train rushed forward, crushing the moaning dead underfoot. As it did, the screams of the damned joined in chorus with the metallic screeching as the train approached with its fierce velocity. This music, oh, it's so creepy. It'll swallow me whole if I don't get out of the way. But just then, I found myself dancing in midair. At that moment, the stone graveyard of the suffering dead suddenly transformed into that magnificent sky once again. I couldn't tell if I was falling or floating. Congratulations, congratulations. Everyone stood on that field of grass under the sky, their arms raised as if in celebration and waiting for me. I fell gently into their clutches. Almost like I was light as a feather. Their countless hands caught me comfortably.
ね、怖くなかったでしょ?
I have no words.
私たち側の世界へ。あなたと一緒に来れて嬉しいよ。だって、誰にも私の声が届かないんだもの。
Can hear us. There is no pain or suffering here. No sorrow, nor anger. No irritation or frustration either. They're all things of the past here. Oh, we're back to this. Oh, yeah, okay, we're back to this. Of course, the same goes for hope, salvation, resurrection, and rebirth. That's a lot of laughs. I'm not doing all that laughs. Oh, that's a lot of laughter. The transient illusion was all a lie. The sky and clouds, fields, and people who welcomed me all vanished. I was lying on the rails, bound tight by the countless hands. That's right. I was a sacrifice to the steel behemoth. My body was gnawed down to nothing by the jaws of the train in the blink of an eye. All my bones broke with a sound akin to the crunching of a candy bar. I heard that with the ear remaining on my severed head. Naturally, not even my severed head could escape those steel jaws, of course. Who would have thought that sound could be music to one's ears? Crunch, smash, crunch and smash. What a pleasant sound, like sinking your inserts into the skin of a crisp, candied apple. It was a bit of a surprise to discover how gratifying it was to have my body devoured. Deep down I understood it was an evil, detestable temptation, but being so thoroughly gnawed at was a sensation both satisfying and amusing beyond comprehension. You know how it feels good when you're stretching and you feel your joints crack? Well, try picturing that, but all over your body, like goosebumps, and it keeps happening over and over again. Then you might understand. More crunching and smashing. I knew, of course, that I shouldn't get into that kind of pleasure, but by that point, my body had been reduced to little more than an assortment of paste and limbs strewn across the rails. You can read that. What little there was left of me was being dragged into the track bed. A world of crushed limbs and innards. But it seemed that wasn't enough to kill them. Agonized moans filled the air. Yeah, I understood. This wasn't liberation. I didn't have to remember my day-to-day life any longer. I didn't have to keep spacing out and waiting without end. Waiting? Hold on, why did I come to the station again? Oh well, who cared? It didn't matter. It doesn't matter anymore. Oh, another train was coming. Oh. Okay. The wheels of the train crushed hundreds more limbs and torsos, and just what have I got myself into? Blinding light gradually intruded on my ecstasy, and all traces of thought came to an end.
大丈夫?
Who's it? Who is this? Subakiko panted as she returned to reality. She was leaning against the pillar in front of the station, waiting for Suzumu. That was still the same. But one thing was different. Time had advanced to the point of Suzumu's arrival. What the hell happened?
うなされてるみたいな感じだったよ。
そうだった。寝ぼけてたかも。
Subakiko gave a slight nod as she suggested that perhaps she'd been spacing out for so long she'd had a waking dream.
大丈夫? 少し休む?
I feel like she probably does need to rest. Like, her vision looks pretty blurry right now.
大丈夫。本当ちょっとぼんやりしてただけ。
何か悪い夢でも見てた?
Dreams can sometimes be so clear that they feel real when you're in them. But how do you save the game? Here's how do you save the game? Strength consent. Oh, I already read that, didn't I? Yet, in most cases, you barely remember what they were about the moment you wake up. Tsubakiko couldn't put into words. All she knew was that it was a bizarre, grotesque daydream. She couldn't recall anything more than that. But as she stared at Suzumu's face, her mind started clearing up. Oh, finally, now, you can actually see him better. She could feel herself returning to reality, the daydream being driven away in a flash. She'd already completely forgotten that fantastical illusion she'd taken hold of her, that had taken hold of her. People don't tend to retain every detail of the daydreams, or fantasies they might have when spacing out, after all. Fantasies like this happen all the time.
ごめんね。ちょっと早く来すぎて、ぼんやりしてるうちに居眠りしちゃってたかも。
He definitely does that.
どのくらい早く来てたの
？1時間くらいかな。
Honestly, that's kind of how I would be. I'd rather be early than late, even if it's an hour.
それはすごいな。僕のためにそんなに早くから待っててくれたの？
別に鈴夢のためにってわけじゃないわけ。たまたまちょっと早く来すぎちゃったってだけの話。男子は細かいこと気にしなくていいの。
キコちゃんは面白いな。
田舎者の鈴夢が駅で迷子になってたら気の毒だなって。それで早く来て待ってたわけ。Do you understand?
迷子になったら来るのは早まるんじゃなくて遅くなると思うけどな。
Yeah.
荷物はそれで全部？カバン1個持ってあげるね。
あ、大丈夫だよ。重いよ。
ノープロブレム。うわ
Tsubakiko snatched Suzumu's travel bag out of his grasp, only to drop it to her feet with a thud.
何これ？めちゃくちゃ重いじゃん。
だから重いよって言ったのに。
鈴夢が軽そうに持ってたからてっきり軽いんだとばっかり。ひょっとしてリュックの方が軽かったりする？そっちへ持ってあげる。
大丈夫だよ。それにこのカバンより重いよ。
鈴夢って
I think you have it in your
結
bags.
構力持ちなんだね。さすがは男子。ああ、そっか。武道をやってるんだったっけ？
まあ腕だけは鍛えてるからね。
昔と変わらず一見細そうなのに随分成長しちゃったね。
キコちゃんこそ実際に会ったらこんなにも可愛らしく成長してたんですっごい驚いちゃった。
Oh no, you're gonna make her blush.
そうありがとう。お世辞でも嬉しいかな。
お世辞なんかじゃないよ。キコちゃんはすごく可愛らしくなったと思う。
ありがとう。まあ私も女子やってるしキュートになるよう毎日努力してるしね。
There wasn't a single hint of flattery in Suzumu's compliments, making Tsubikiko even more embarrassed. Her heart was all aflutter at the thought that Suzumu might turn out to be one heck of a lady killer. His full name was Suzumu Susuhara. Just like Tsubikiko, he was 16 years old and in 11th grade. He would be going to the same school as her starting in April. As per family tradition, he would start living on his own from this year onwards. His large backpack and traveling bag contained his personal belongings and the like. That said, he was still a minor, so it wasn't like he would be truly living on his own just yet. The Harumiyas, Tsubikiko, and her parents were taking care of him. Suzumu and Tsubikiko were relatives. However, they were 6 times removed, so they could hardly be considered close in terms of blood ties. What's more, the two hadn't seen each other since their great-grandfather's funeral over a decade ago. Their parents had told them each how the other was doing, but this was the first time in so long they were truly meeting face to face. Despite that, they didn't feel like strangers at all. Family ties truly are a curious thing. Even if today had been their first meeting, Tsubikiko wouldn't have been opposed to welcoming him into the family at all. It was strange, but that was just how close she felt to him.
じゃあ行こっか。
Ready to go? Oh yeah, I don't.
なんだろう。なんだか騒がしいね。
The station employees were in a fluster. The teenagers exiting the station were rambling on about something. There is a goddamn net. Anyway, the teenagers exiting the station were rambling on about something. Their faces pale.
飛び込みらしいよ。それもたった今だって。
Wait, hold on.
何それ。怖い。
Damn that. But
髪の長い若い OL が電車に飛び込んだって言ってるね。
an office lady in her 20s with long hair.
怖い。
気の毒だね。死んで咲く花なんてないのに。
Oh god.
リー、何？
なんだっけ。
God. That damn net is gonna. Okay. For a moment, images of a field under a blue sky and a woman with an unsettling smile flashed through Tsubikiko's mind. But they faded into the fog of oblivion just as soon as they'd appeared. After all, it was pointless to remember daydreams. Oh my god.
ここがキコちゃんの住むアパートなんだ。
Let's see. How do you save? Ah, that's how you do it. Okay. So that's how you save. You press S to save the game. Okay, so that's where I'll cut it for this first episode. I didn't want to do too long because I don't know how much time I have right now. But that was so interesting. Holy crap. This is going to be an interesting game, I can already see. Anyway, if you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit like and subscribe and hit that bell to know when I do new videos, and be prepared for some more interesting stuff for this game. Whew. Anyway, I'll see you later. Bye.